Hello, everyone. And today I just wanted to talk about breaking through um, the base vibration of who you are, or in other words, breaking through some of the conditioning that we have as that is our challenge essentially, and it will always continue to be our challenge because no matter what we tend to break through, we're always going to establish a new form of conditioning, which eventually we're going to have to break through that as well. There's going to be like shells that we are going to have to continually break out of. And as we continue to do that, it's obviously the base level of our reality will tend to improve as we go through those different levels. Um, and I just wanted to discuss this a little bit just because of um, a person that I had to interact with of one of my patients, and it was a very good example of how there is this holding on to the conditioning, um, and a tendency to, how shall I say, it's like we're waiting for something to happen in order for us to do something. It's um, not wanting to feel uncomfortable, and in sense of not stepping out of that comfort zone, um, doesn't, basically keeps us trapped in a certain mold. Uh, and I had a patient that was a very good example of that. She had a lot of health problems, and in addition to those health problems, which were significant, um, she had a lot of other relationship issues, relationships with people, relationships with family members that were all of a similar emotional um, vibration. And as I was talking with her, one of the things that she was discussing was, of course, her body, which is again, a very strong vibration that you have going on because, of course, no matter where you go, you carry your body with you. So the ideas that we have about our body are a good indication of where our base vibration is because, again, it's what you carry with you all day long, and you're probably thinking about it all day long, even in the background of of your mind. So as I was talking with her about that, and I was just being very present and listening, um, spontaneously I started to talk with her about it and just ease in a different vibration into um, into her thoughts. And I basically had just mentioned to her that no matter what's going on with her body, this is the body that she has, and this is the body that should be respected and honored. And there's no person that is better that is more capable of doing that than her. And I know I said that much better to her at the time. I can't remember exactly how I mentioned it, but that was basically the gist of what I had said. And I could tell by the way that she heard it and the way she responded, she received that. And it was a different idea and something that probably no one had ever told her about her own body before. And I know that for a split second, it gave her a gap between the structure of what she was and who she could be. And then what happened was very interesting. The ego structure, the emotional tie of that, immediately switched to another subject, and she began to talk about her taxi driver and how he had come too early, decided he was too. Um, she wasn't quite ready yet, and so she said she would be ready in 7 minutes. And then he said he had to leave, and it was a situation where she was feeling bad emotionally again. It was like the the ego structure had to repair itself. It started being fearful of this other vibration that was so different than what it normally had felt. It normally feels this base vibration of feeling bad, and it becomes normal with that. That's a normal sensation, and anything outside of that is just abnormal. So it wants to get back to that vibration. So it switched immediately to another subject. And I don't remember what I had responded to that, but um, and again, I was listening for quite a while as she rambled on about this situation, and I had mentioned something along the lines, again, I can't remember exactly, but it was a different vibration. It was something that was more accepting of the situation, and again, it was like this small pause and stuff, and then immediately went back to a different subject. Again, very similar vibration, this very similar emotional pattern to what was originally um, being discussed with her body. And so you could see how all these different subjects were just structured and linked together, and it was structuring a certain identity for herself. And it was it was so interesting to me just to see that as I watched it, as it would just transform and one to the other, and there's this energy inside of her that just didn't want to die off. And obviously, I cannot create space for someone else, at least nothing long lasting anyway. Even if I were to be able to create some space in someone, it would the other person has to be a willing participant. So they may feel more spacious around me, but as soon as they left me, they would be right back to where they were. Everybody is going to have to be personally responsible for their own consciousness and their own creation. Now, certain people can help you to get different insights, but ultimately, it's always your own responsibility to be able to accept those um, those insights and incorporate them, and to recognize when you are dipping into vibrations that you don't prefer. And when those things happen, um, it's very important to just be as present as you can. And the trickiest part, I would say, is that addictive pattern of not wanting to step outside of the comfort zone. It's so inherent and it's very, very tricky to be able to get out of that. It's this magnetic pull to try to get you back to that identity structure that wants to stay alive. And by staying focused in the present moment and not allowing your mind to focus you back, focus on something else, some emotional pattern, especially wanting to draw you um, into the emotion. I would almost say there's an addictive pattern of, like, at least for me, tends to want to stare at the emotion until it goes away, which it never will. There has to be, a noticing of the emotion and just kind of ignoring it, just like realizing, okay, it's there. But my reality that's going on right now is more important than this emotion that's going on, which means I'm not the emotion. The emotion's here, but I'm being present. So it's kind of in the background. It can draw you back, and there is very possible it could, but there's already some form of separation in there because if you were the emotion, you wouldn't even know that there was an emotion there. It would just be a spontaneous reaction. Um, but but because you notice the emotion, now you have a choice. There's this emotion there, and there's maybe thoughts going on. But if there's a witness to all that, and especially staying very present and recognizing, okay, there's this emotion going on here. Any thoughts that I'm thinking are going to be in line with that, and I do not trust them. I got to stay very present and just try to take some breaths and be as present as I can. Use my perceptions to stay very present. I do a lot of like feeling. Actually, I try to feel my reality, feel my hands, feel. I'm always like feeling something in the reality to basically get out of my mind and into the reality I'm in, especially when I know that that's happening. Because again, it can be very difficult to get out of that. But that's the best thing that you can do to try to step out of these structures. Um, because again, it can be very challenging. But once you do that, then what happens is that um, there's a certain level of it's just your whole life starts to become more, you just become more alive in your reality. It's like you free this life energy that was trapped in these ideas that you have about reality, and you actually start to live in your reality, which becomes very, very joyful to you, very exciting. Things that you normally maybe, again, bored of, because again you're stuck in your mind, and which is judging the reality, saying it should be something different, and you recognize, okay, there's this boredom, there may be thoughts that are going to be judging about this boredom. I can't trust any of them. I got to just be very present and just focus on my reality, and try as best as I can to notice that, but focus on my reality and try to stay out of my mind, and which is ironic. You're going to be out of your mind, but I guess you got to be a little bit crazy to actually step out of these uh, behavioral patterns. But you're stepping out of these conditioning, and by stepping out of these conditioning and stuff and getting very present, you actually draw your life energy away from the mind structures about reality, and you actually get into reality. And the interesting thing is, once you are focused more in your reality than you are about in your mind about reality, it's there's this natural flow, natural playfulness, natural joy and peace that tends to permeate and start to affect your whole day, your whole life. And uh, it becomes, again, this joy ends up really becoming very, very, I would say, almost addicting. You know, you start to, and those other feelings that you have you become very intolerant of those states. But also, when you see other people, you can tell that you're at a different vibration because you can see it. It's like it becomes so obvious to you that you can see these people in these structures. And so you know just from that that you're on a higher level. So, and again, that's not to be on an ego thing, but it's just to kind of give a balance of, oh, I am making some progress here. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to see it. I would judge this person and I would be dismissive of them, and they shouldn't be feeling this way, or they shouldn't be acting this way towards me. You become very judgmental if you are stuck in the mind structures. When you're more in the present moment and more in the reality, um, all of these things become very obvious, and you see that the person actually does need help, or they're helping you to change and grow. So either one, which is very helpful uh, to yourself or to them, and both are joyful. Helping somebody else is joyful, but also having someone help you can be very joyful too. And I mean, I probably rambled on long enough, so I guess I'll end this video, and I just want to thank everyone for watching. Take care.